All right, Chris Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 after a full weekend of SEC football with all the teams in action, I believe. Blake, not the most exciting weekend of football, but bunch of games in the books. I guess the best one was saved for last with Arkansas. Not Arkansas. Miami and Texas A&M. Although the Arkansas game was a lot more interesting than I think we expected.
You learned by
How's
now,
that?
Chris. The answer is always Arkansas.
The answer is always
You
Arkansas.
never
That's
have to
correct.
apologize for leading with Arkansas. You got to remember
No,
that. So
not on this channel.
Never have to apologize for leading with Arkansas. So no, but it was. I mean, like you said, it was a lot of one-sided games, which to a certain degree we expected. On some of these, they were pretty much exactly what we thought. I don't think we maybe expected. Final score was 11 in terms of Arkansas, Missouri State, but I think we expected it to be that close of a game, and certainly how it played out. But give Bobby Petrino's team credit for that. They certainly did some things pretty well, but Arkansas comes storming back. I definitely tell you, we 100% missed on Florida and South Florida. I did not expect Florida and South Florida to be that close, but that's another discussion we'll have, I'm sure, this week with the Gators as we preview that Tennessee game. Yeah, I mean, Auburn, Penn State, we didn't expect to be that big of a blowout. But again, I was on the side of thinking that I just thought Penn State would win. So, yeah, but elsewhere, we didn't learn a ton this week. That's kind of what we said in terms of just where things stood. I think we learned that Vanderbilt found a quarterback that feels like they can propel them forward, although the schedule is not going to help. We learned LSU, I think,
next
better
three
than,
games for them are brutal.
Yeah. We learned LSU, I think, is going to be tough to handle probably by season's end, getting a big win against Mississippi State. Yep. And elsewhere, do we go into the A&M thing now or not? Like, I'm going to be honest with you, Chris. I watched that game. And clearly, I think making the quarterback change was something we said they had to do. But I still don't think I learned a ton about A&M. I mean, I think Miami just kicked itself in the foot a lot in that game. But what I will say about A&M is this: keep in mind they're missing key players. Their defense has still performed very well this season, and that's still going to be, I think, the strength of this team. But again, I still don't know exactly maybe what we learned to that extent, and maybe it is just going back to with A&M. We said early in the season they're young, and it may just take a while, and they're not the number 6 team now, but maybe they'll get there eventually. I don't know if they get there this season to that high again, but they're getting better, and I guess you can give them that. That was a big win. There's no other way to put it. So,
well, I want to hit on LSU and Mississippi State in a minute, but with A&M, we all liked Miami in that game because the Appalachian State game happened. They can't move the ball. And when you bring in that kind of talent and it doesn't go the way that fan base expected it, and my goodness, that fan base is expecting a playoff berth this year, or was coming into the weekend. You get a transfer quarterback, you get Haynes King back, all kinds of talent. But we warned in the preseason, look, guys, it's a young team. Doesn't mean they're bad, but it can take a while for stuff to come together. And then you had Appalachian State, which gives up, 63 the weekend before, and a loss, comes in and wins the game in College Station. And then you see the suspensions to key players. Not all of them were key, but some of them were. And you're going, this just has the recipe for the wheels to start coming off, because the pressure had started to mount. And so I thought that was pretty impressive by A&M. It wasn't a perfect game by any means, but that defense is young, but it's stingy. The secondary is not young. And, it wasn't the most exciting game, but I thought for A&M getting a win for that program right now was big to, maybe to have something to build on there.
Yeah, it's really what matters that they won, because we said they could have easily lost this game and lost the next 3 after that. So, yeah, just getting a win, very important in that one. So, Jimbo Fisher and company needed that. So give them credit. Like I said, I don't. They're by no means, I think, where they want to be just yet. But I think the defense will be able to drive them and give them a chance in a lot of these games for sure. So yeah, so nice there for that one. I know Alex has got a question here. As always, for jumping in, like Sunday nights, this is your show. We're just kind of recapping everything from the weekend, and we will do a little bit of an early preview. And again, by the way, if you're also just joining us for the first time or any other time you've joined us, we'll have all of our preview videos out starting probably late tonight into tomorrow. And of course, Tuesday, we'll have previews of every single game there. So Alex is asking about Tennessee and Florida.
I'll tell you what. Hold on that one for just a minute because I will have plenty of thoughts. Or we
Okay.
can do that. I definitely wanted to get to LSU and Mississippi State because that's one we didn't do last night. When we did 2 wrap ups yesterday.
We kind of talked about the end of LSU. We talked about the game a little bit. I mean, the game was finishing as we were talking. So
okay, I'm
yeah,
losing my
just
track
to
of things here.
no,
But
I
just to
know.
put a
Listen,
bow on it.
I get it. Yeah, like we were at the end of the game last night where LSU had wrapped it up, and we had pretty much kind of talked about, hey, this is obviously big for LSU, and yeah. So I mean, we'll obviously talk more about both those teams moving forward, but yeah, it was a big second half for LSU to say the least. So I thought that was pretty impressive for the
Well,
Tigers.
I
And
thought,
maybe do we revisit our thoughts on Mississippi State? I don't know, but they
yeah,
had their chances.
I don't think so. State did this a little bit last year. I'm expecting better. This is just the SEC. I thought that holding Will Rogers to 5.1 yards a throw and 1 touchdown was pretty significant. I thought that was a really good. LSU has done a pretty good job because I mean it started to go sideways really quickly for Brian Kelly. I mean he loses a close game to Florida State that they just as easily could have won, and you're hearing talk of, is this the guy for us after 1 game, which is just crazy. So I thought that was a big bounce back. I don't know that really State will drop in our power rankings tomorrow because it kind of has to. And I think that's just one of those, you got to slot them behind LSU for now kind of things. And there's a domino effect. I don't know that I lost any faith in State. And I think for LSU, I was starting to think you could see a path where that year got sideways with the pressure, with the, with some injuries and stuff like that. So I thought for LSU, that was a really nice rebound win because you didn't learn anything from the bludgeoning of Southern last week.
No, in our power rankings, I'll tell you all, like for our entire staff, they are as close together in terms of opinions that we've had thus far. Which would make sense, I think, because you are starting to see some separation. And I think there's a pretty clear separation for the different tiers of where these teams are at. So I don't think, I mean, look, there's always going to be, it's our power rankings, right? We get 10,000 views on them last week. Like somebody's going to be upset. But I think everyone probably kind of understands in terms of where teams are at in a general vicinity, maybe not the exact number. But yeah, so our power rankings video, that'll also be up tomorrow. So be sure to check that out. And go easy on Blaine. Come on. He gives Tennessee credit. He has questions about the defense, which, hey, listen, could we using name calling, Steak? We're trying to give you all the shout outs here. And
Steak,
we're
you're
over
better
here,
than that.
We're over here pumping up the balls and Steak just coming at our guy Blaine. But speaking of which, we'll quickly hit on this because again, we will do an entire preview video on this. Either Chris and I will or Blaine will have his. Look, I've said before, I'm very high on Tennessee, and I think that my opinion on them hasn't changed. They will be, let's see, where are they at, Chris? They will be number 4 in my individual power rankings for the week behind my top 3 that has not changed. And I know people say, oh, how do you not drop Arkansas after Missouri? They won the game by 11 points. So I don't really see much of a need to drop Arkansas from where I had them. So, but Tennessee has always been, I've probably been the high man. I think Chris has come up to my level now. We're kind of the high
I'm pretty
people
close to you on
Tennessee. Yeah. So look, guys, if you've watched Tennessee and watched kind of what Florida's looked like the past couple of weeks, I think it just
that one is separated quickly since the Utah game.
Yeah, I was gonna say I worry about I worry about Florida's offense in this one. Although again, Tennessee's defense I don't think is by any means been perfect, but I think there's and I think it's the look ahead too, right? Like, but if you looked at it, Chris, here's the thing: if you say Tennessee and Florida both had look ahead games, Tennessee played an Akron team that where were they? They were pretty low in our composite rankings, right? But so was South Florida. Like they were pretty low
Akron,
too.
yeah.
And look at the
I will tell you
difference,
where both
right?
those teams were. South Florida last week was 110 in our composite power rankings. And by our composite power rankings, what I mean is we take 8 computers. We're talking Sagarin, ESPN's FPI, Kenneth Massey, FEI. I won't go into all of them. And then we take the Athletic and CBS's power rankings. We average those 10. South Florida was 110 in our poll last week, and Akron was 128. So there's only,
So there's not a big
only New
difference.
Mexico State, FIU, and UMass. Well, actually, there is a pretty good difference between
Well,
that last 5 or 6 teams and then the tier where. But I mean, there's still teams that
but still a 110 in
an
yeah.
SEC team should still bludgeon pretty good, which one team did and one team did not.
That's my point. And I look, I'm not saying you can gain everything off of that, but I do think it can be a little telling considering where we were looking at in terms of, I said with Tennessee, I said, look, to me, there's never a spread in this kind of game for Tennessee that can be too high because their offense is just going to be clicking at all times. But now, I think the thing with Florida becomes, I think the questions are fair, right? In terms of like what they are going to look like offensively moving forward the rest of the season. And just I think again, will they be able to find some things maybe in Tennessee's defense? Sure. But I think Tennessee what's the line? Do we have the line yet on that one? Again, we're not going to do our full preview here, but I'm curious what the line is on
I
this.
like line guessing. I'm going to line
I think
guess
Tennessee's
that's
at least a
Tennessee in
touchdown
7.
favorite. I was gonna say at least a touchdown would be my guess off the bat. It is going to start at 8.5, which I
Okay.
also think is probably about right. So, yeah, that's just kind of I think the initial thoughts on that, and I'd have to see some pretty big differences from Florida from the past 2 weeks to next week to really feel like they're going to be able to keep up with Tennessee in that game. But that's one man's opinion. So
I'm going to give you a couple of stats on those two teams. And look, Tennessee has played what? Ball State,
right,
Akron, with Pitt thrown in between, and Pitt losing its quarterback for what, 2.5 quarters. But still, you can only do what's in front of you. Tennessee's given up 4.6 yards a snap, which is pretty good. By the way, some SEC. Have you noticed the defensive numbers in this league so far? And again, I know that this has come against the soft underbelly of the schedule, but this is an offense first era. You have got
we're getting back to like
five teams in the league averaging giving up single digits per week, led by Georgia at 3.3 points a game and Ole Miss at 4.3. Who would have thought Ole Miss a year ago we'd be saying? And again, the schedule's been pretty easy, but still, Ole Miss was giving up points to anybody and everybody this time a year ago.
I was gonna say, we talked about it this weekend, but like even I know Georgia Tech. I said I told you I knew they weren't in a good spot, but I was stunned that they were to that level. But I think again a lot of that my opinion on Ole Miss is really forming now because I said I didn't have a great grasp on them, but I mean their running attack and those kind of things. I think Ole Miss is, as you'll see in our power rankings video, they are moving on up. So yeah, they are definitely moving on up the ladder there. So let's talk a little bit about this game here, Chris, real quickly. The Arkansas Missouri State. We know we got a lot of Arkansas.
We'll preview the preview.
Yeah, there you go. Let's preview the preview. So, I mean, the Arkansas Missouri State game. I think you had said going into it, kind of looking at our opinions of that game. Which, by the way, I think is going to wind up being our most watched video on the channel ever. How wild is that, right? And I don't remember what we said, but I'm sure there's a lot of things you can call out on it. But I think I said take the over, and I don't think there ever was an over that was established. But I think again, it was one of those situations where, yeah, I mean, Rusty said it's
Rusty
there were two
nailed it with
things.
this comment.
Well, there's two things here. I think both comments nailed this, and this was kind of what we talked about going into it. Secondary and the look ahead, the game that's sandwiched in the middle of South Carolina and Texas A&M. So I was surprised that the game started the way it did, but I think what we saw in that game, and we keep saying it, right? I said, look, this game is going to probably be determined on the ground. And my goodness, you look around there and you just look at everything. Like it's a lot of the big plays in that game. Obviously, the punt return, huge. You got Sanders, who is just my goodness, man, this guy just making plays all over the
They
place.
call him Rocket
Um,
for a reason.
yeah, and it's just like it was one of those games that, there were some things that you didn't expect to play out the way that it did, but man, still, I think for Arkansas to kind of have the waking up moment in the middle of the second quarter, and it was so important, I thought, to get that to 17-14 at halftime, because again, that's it's completely different if it's still 17-7 at halftime, those kind of things, and it was just kind of a setup that I don't think you love. But yes, secondary has to be better. Again, I don't want to get into full preview of Arkansas and A&M just yet, but boy, that's going to be a fascinating matchup with where those two teams are at right now. So,
Yeah. By the way, Bobby Petrino can still coach.
yeah. So, that team will win some games for sure. Again, that's not a bad team. So yeah, but
Where do we need to go? I know there's going to be a lot of interest in Florida, Tennessee next weekend. I'm gonna go ahead and go on record and say Tennessee wins that game. And I've gotten texts from a dear friend of mine, big Vol fan, was already up in arms about how they're going to lose next week. I said,
that's the whole.
I'm gonna call it now. You say you take a screenshot of this, and then I'm gonna send it to him next week when Tennessee has knocked off Florida. But I don't see. We'll preview it later. What I've seen of Florida, what I've seen of Richardson, and look, I was big on the Richardson train 2 weeks ago. Perhaps because he's my quarterback in SEC fantasy football, and I need to believe in him. But that aside, yeah, I'm not so much his quarterback play, and you got Hendon Hooker on one hand, and you've got AR-15 on the other. And I love them both, but right now there's a big difference in performance.
Speaking of fantasy quarterbacks, for all you Trey Lance owners out there like myself, it was not a great development there for him today, out with a season-ending injury. So,
Ooh.
yeah, but I hated that because I think he's got a lot of potential. But, anyways, back to college.
Yeah, Arkansas secondary being banged up, I think. And Missouri State slung the ball around the yard a little bit last night.
Oh, but here's
I
the thing,
think,
Chris. Here's my question. Arkansas's secondary banged up, but now like I said, they're going to a game against a team that I don't think is much of a passing threat. So
no.
that I think's not exactly the worst matchup in terms of Arkansas and A&M. And again, everyone, we will do a full video on this. We'll have that up tomorrow at some point on the channel. So looking ahead to these games, obviously good SEC flavor, I think, this week. Auburn, Missouri. My goodness, you want to talk about I think you phrased it, Chris, is the must-win
Loser
game
jumps off a bridge game.
of must-win games for these two teams. Tennessee, Florida, A&M, Arkansas, Vandy, Alabama, which, we talked about AJ Swann, but boy, welcome to the SEC. Your first game gets to be on the road against Alabama. So not ideal, but
I thought Vandy would Swan. I've known for a while was going to end up getting that job. And by the way, if we don't talk about Vandy a lot here, and I don't know what the next 3 weeks are going to look like because of who he's playing. I think the three defenses combined are giving up about 10 points a game, and I'm being deadly serious between Georgia, Ole Miss, and Alabama. But AJ Swann has got a whole lot of Jay Cutler in him. Now he's not as athletic as Cutler was. Cutler's athleticism, I think, got overlooked, and he didn't run a lot in the NFL, but he's not that kind of athlete. But the arm strength and just the between the ears, and the stones to make the throws he makes, there is a lot of similarities between he and Cutler. I was not totally surprised they started him because Mike Wright pouted on the sideline last week, and I think Vandy was looking for a reason to give him the job, and he's going to keep that job probably for the next 3.5 years. Provided, it's hard to say now. It's different era with the portal and all that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think Vandy found a quarterback, but he is going to have his hands full the next 3 weeks.
I was going to say, maybe the next 3 years, next 3 weeks are going to be not fun. So going up against those defenses, I think. But it's going to be hard to judge. But by the way, everyone who's jumping in here, we always appreciate the support. As always, you can leave us a super chat that just gives us a few bucks to help us make more videos for you guys. So we appreciate all the great super chats we've had this far. Rusty, the Harrison family, many others have left us nice super chats in these live streams. So be sure to do that. Hit that little $sign button. You can put in $1, or as we always say, $1 million. It's up to you. If any of you out there have $1 million to throw around, we will always gladly take it. But you can also check out our friends at Stakes, not to be confused with Stake himself, but Stakes on the bottom there, playwithstakes.com/14. Use the code Southeastern14. And be sure to have some fun there on the app. A lot of winnings this weekend for those on Stakes. Chris, I think you and I did pretty well
nothing
on these games this weekend.
About Stakes, you can get your predictions on the record. You pick anything in the game for free, see how you measure up against fans and influencers like us. Flex your wins. You can broadcast your takes to our community of sports fans with just a few taps on your phone. Earn cred. You can build your public predictions track record by winning competitions and earning NFT trophies for making the perfect call. Go to playwithstakes.com/14. Sign up. Use the invite code Southeastern14 for a double welcome bonus. And Skalisk, I guess that's how you pronounce it. If that's what you think, we will put a bet in the app on the spread, which is 8.5. You can go bet that and win yourself some virtual coin. Cool app. Costs you nothing to play, nothing to bet. It's just kind of bragging rights.
Yes, it is. It's not we forgot to tell everyone, the guy in charge of Stakes is Stake himself. Like he is. That's
right.
That is kind of funny, isn't it? One of our very first commenters we ever had back when we had about 100 subscribers to our YouTube channel. Now we're almost at 3,000. Stake. And what is our first sponsor? Stakes. It's going to be any better. So there you go. So, I mean, listen, I don't disagree. SEC football.
Nobody likes Florida in this game next week.
Here's like, and anyone who wants to be like, oh, well, you're just hating on Florida. Well, here's the problem.
The problem is Florida can't throw the ball,
and it's not been pretty. So, we can live off of week 1 if we want, but the last 2 weeks, I think you're going in the wrong direction. So that's my only issue with Florida right now. And again, I'm the high man on Tennessee, so I know where I sit on this game. So we'll see. But Daniel wants to know, hey, Missouri could do much worse, couldn't they? So I put Bobby P on that list. If they want to win some games, absolutely. Why would you not? So, but
most likely coaches to be out of the SEC next year. Right now, it's got to be making coaching changes. Auburn and Missouri.
Yeah, that's why this weekend.
I mean, that's 1 and 2, and is there even a close third unless you want to dream on A&M coming up with $90 million to send Jimbo packing? That season's far from over, and that season got pulled out of the trash heap last night.
By the way, Harrison family, we appreciate you joining us. And yes, you do remember someone saying Kentucky would beat Florida. I think that was me, right? No, I'm just kidding. That wasn't me.
That was Blaine.
I picked Florida to win that game. Yeah, it was Blaine. Blaine was all in on that one. We gave Blaine some props on a couple things in the group chat last night, but Blaine also pointed out that he was completely wrong on one team in particular, and we'll let him talk about that. But as all of us have been, some of us have gotten some of these right, some of them not so high on that. So. Hey, SEC football, we appreciate that. We appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. And that's what we said, man. We're not, if you're just joining us, like, again, everyone kind of has the way they do things, but Chris and I are just like, we're not, we just like to have fun. Like, we're just We're entertaining. Like, go back to the bag of shame days. Chris wearing the bag of shame after a wrong pick. We are not afraid to tell you when we are wrong. I will tell you that. Like, maybe too much sometimes. So
I think Blaine gets to wear the bag of shame over Auburn when he returns. Although I can't kid him. I sent him. I said, you know what? I doubted you on Florida. I think you were going to be more right than I am. I was pretty high on Florida, and
I was too.
I'm cooling
Well,
on Florida
hold on a second.
quickly.
I
But
was
but but
I was
go ahead.
low on Florida. Then they won that game, and I think I went way
Yeah.
too far off of that one game. And now I've kind of come back to this weekend certainly tells a lot more. So yeah.
Well, the thing I've said on Florida before the season was that I think you want to let them. You had a culture issue down there. I thought it went bad with Mullen. Napier's a disciplinarian. Yeah, you have AR-15 who's got talent. It's not going well. I said I'd rather catch them at the first of the year
Yeah.
than the backside. And lo and behold, they go out and beat Utah the first week, which a lot of people had plagued as a college football playoff participant. So I think you had to sit up and take notice then, but the two games since then have not been what you wanted. I mean, Florida with if it didn't catch a couple of breaks, that could have easily gone the other way last night against USF and Jeff Scott.
By the way, on this comment here, yeah, if you are new to the channel and you've not seen our basketball or baseball coverage, then I think you will enjoy that as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, there you go.
Baseball never got off the ground last year like we wanted to because yours truly ended up having a major surgery in the end of the season that was not even on the radar before the baseball season started. So we've got we have big plans for baseball, even if it's just me, which I hope it's not just me.
I'll jump on there
But,
with you. I'll
okay.
I'll still be thinking about the NCAA tournament all the way through June at least. So we will, basketball, baseball, we'll have it all covered. So we appreciate you guys. Yeah, here's some family.
There are three of us on this channel. I'm the baseball guy. Blake is the basketball guy, and Blaine is the football guy. Although we do follow all three, but that is sort of our fortes. So
we are the specialist of each of those divisions, although we are all part of all of those divisions. There you go. So, yeah. So, by the way, Harrison family, I was putting your comment up there. I think Florida, I think they're still a good team, but I wouldn't go too much stronger just until I want to see what they do against Tennessee to really figure out where they're at. So, yeah. So we'll see. Oh, look at this.
Harrison family.
Are we ready for this again? Harrison family, I'm starting to wonder here, okay? Like, we don't want to put you out of like house and home here. We don't want to like, we appreciate the super chats, but what was it? You dropped like 1 million on the last one, and I'm just kidding. We appreciate the Harrison family, the entire family. We don't even know the entire family, but I tell you right now, I love them all. So, a $20 super chat, much appreciated. So yes, Harrison family. Here's the thing: we have to root for Arkansas now for every game because if we don't,
Right.
like, we're not going to get the super chats from you. So, I mean, Mike, I hope they win the national championship. What are you going to give us then? So, that's a smart move. So, Harrison family did ask the wife, so it's all authorized, everyone. So,
Hog Barbecue wanted to know if he missed the Arkansas chat. We did talk
No,
about Arkansas briefly.
We
I think
can't
we
talk
have
about it.
hit everybody between the two we did yesterday, which were frankly wasn't there much to talk about.
Yeah.
And we threatened to have an emergency live stream last night at Arkansas lost, but
Well,
we did not have to go through on that.
I will tell you this.
Steak.
The two live streams we did yesterday were not our most exciting because there was
No.
not a lot. Like, it was a pretty laid back edition because there just wasn't a whole lot happening with that. So that's just kind of where things were. But I mean, I think you could certainly make the case Tennessee's the third best team. Like I said, I still have Arkansas, but that margin I think is I certainly give Tennessee a shot at that spot. I mean, again, I don't want to take anything away from Kentucky either because I think Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee, in my opinion, are all three kind of battling for that spot. So look at this, man. We are just another nice super chat here, $4.99. We greatly appreciate this, guys. We really do. Like I said, this just goes to us building our super studio one day
With the
We're gonna
moat.
put it. Yeah, we're gonna Sir Chris Lee over here. If you missed that one, Chris is royalty. If anyone didn't know, he is just
That
barely.
close.
But go back and find the video for that. It's in there somewhere. So yes.
I was thinking,
Sponsored by this.
should,
We're sponsored
should
by
we
the
start
entire state.
Should we start a throw them in the moat segment?
Oh gosh, maybe that's your segment.
Because we talked when we build our studio, we're going to have a moat around the studio. So
that's good. Hey, the Hogs, I've got them in my top. I mean, we talked about our basketball tiers, right? If you want to watch it, if you are joining us, if you care anything about SEC basketball, we did an hour of SEC basketball talk last week, and the early power rankings tiers. Yeah, I got Kentucky and Arkansas at the top. So there you go.
Blake, taking a sidebar. Do you know what I picked up in my trip to the grocery store between games last night? Well, you know what I picked up because
Either
I showed you. But
some. Oh yeah, the
Lindy's.
thing.
And I have some bones to pick with Lindy's.
Well, I'm curious. Let's do this. And again, if you're football guys, I promise this won't be long. But let's. I'm curious here. This has got my interest now.
Okay, Kentucky at 9, too low. That's the first SEC team, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
A&M at 15.
What?
I can buy that.
I don't know about 15. I could buy them. Yeah.
Tennessee at 17.
Where the hell is
Arkansas at 19?
There's no way
it gets better. It gets 19. Better.
No chance.
Auburn 21.
I'm okay with that.
Alabama 30.
Now I could see people being hesitant on Alabama given last season, so I'm not that on the other side of that one either. But
this feels a little bit like 2 years ago did for Alabama coming in.
Wait, where's Tennessee? Did you say Tennessee?
Tennessee is 17, which I think is a little low also.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have decidedly different takes on the top of the league, which we did go through in a video. I'm trying to think who else have they got in here.
I got no problem with A&M. I just think 15's high for me. So
I can see it. It's higher than I would have picked them. I would not put A&M as the second best team in the league. Let me see who they had going to the tournament.
We appreciate that hog barbecue.
Let's see. They've got
butter up our prediction just for that. So
they don't have Florida in the tournament. And I guess they've just got those teams going to the NCAAs.
No,
nobody else that I see on here. Florida, I think the league will get more teams than that in the tournament. But
there you go.
There you go. Kentucky, A&M, Tennessee, Arkansas, Auburn, Alabama is their sequence. They got Mississippi State 7th, which we talked about them being interesting. And I'll see if they've got State going to the tournament. I don't think they do. They do not.
By the way, on the football front, if you have anything you want us to discuss here, we're going to hop off soon. But yeah, let us know if there's anything else. Again, remember, if you're just joining, just hopping in, we have all our videos coming up tomorrow, Tuesday at the latest. We'll have all the SEC videos up tomorrow with previews, predictions for all the Week 4 games. So you can check those out, and we will. Yes. If you want us to predict a certain way, please let us know in the chat. And if you're going to, if this is going to be a full-on bribe with the super chats, we will take all bribes. So not that our predictions have any outcome.
Let's do some quick hitters. Team of the week
from week 3.
Yeah.
Oh, that's easy for me.
LSU.
Georgia.
I mean, I could argue LSU. I could argue Georgia. I could also argue Ole Miss.
I award dominance, and Georgia was dominant once again. So they, to me, are the team of the week. And I know we don't say that just by who's the best team, but I enjoy watching teams just go out and just dominate other teams. And we don't see that all the time in the SEC, but I think Georgia's that good. So they're my vote.
Disappointment of the week, obviously that's Auburn.
Yeah, I think that's
with an honorable mention, Mississippi State. I don't think that's a bad loss, but I wanted State to show better. That's where I have kind of planted my flag for a while. And I'm not shocked State did this last year. It would be really good one week and just so or bad the next. But gosh, it was
What
only
else?
the league only lost one game out of conference, and that was Auburn.
Yep. Give me another spicy quick hitter, and then we're going to go to some of these comments.
Who's your player of the week? I haven't done a lot of research on this.
I'd have to. There's probably an obvious choice out there, but I would have to look that up. There's too many. There's a lot of good performances this week, so I don't want to leave anybody out. Arkansas fans, I know what you're thinking. But.
Well, Jefferson and Sanders would be on the list. I think maybe it could be AJ Swann at Vandy.
I was gonna say I would put him in
because if he doesn't do that, they don't win that game. And I know it's Northern Illinois, but NIU did win the MAC last year. That's a big win for Vandy. I mean, this is any rebuild at Vandy is bad, and that one was worse than usual. What Clark Lee inherited, I think they may not win a game the rest of the year, but he's them winning 3 of those 4 games, 2 of them on the road. That's a really nice start for them.
Yep, I think so. Arkansas fans are geared up for the A&M game. Yeah, it's big. We look forward to discussing that one. That's going to be a lot of fun, I think. So, by the way, SEC football, Tennessee's best chance in 15 years to beat Alabama at Knoxville. I think look, there's probably a year I'm forgetting somewhere in there, so don't hold me.
Well,
there
was the year when
I'm not. There's too much.
Terrence Cody blocked a field goal with his armpit in Lane Kiffin's only year there.
Like, I don't remember what year that
8.
Was.
When was that?
I couldn't tell you.
I mean, 15 years is about. I mean, was 15 years ago the year that they lost to ULM?
2009, I think, something like that. Yeah, 2009.
Okay, so maybe not the best in 15, but it's close.
Yeah, but like that year, I'm trying to think of where Tennessee was at that year heading into that game. But no, we said going into the season, or at least I said it. I said that if both those teams go into that game unbeaten, which would require what, Chris?
Tennessee will have to take care of Florida, win at LSU with the bye week in between, and Alabama will have Vandy and then the road trip to Arkansas, then A&M, which will be There'll be 2 emotional. I don't know. You know what? If you look at the way the schedule lines up, not that it is a cakewalk for Tennessee, but I think I'd rather have week off, trip to LSU, than at Arkansas, and then A&M at home with all the extras that come with Alabama and A&M, given the last 12 months.
I think you got a shot, like I said, but I don't. I'm curious to see where both teams are at once that game gets there. Because again, like we said, there's still potential pitfalls along the way. So
we're not going to know much about Alabama, I think, until October 1st. That game at Arkansas, presuming Arkansas is relatively healthy, I think will tell us a lot. Last week told us nothing. Next week's game with Vandy is not going to tell us anything about Alabama.
No, it's not. So, yeah. So we'll see. All right. This is our 2-ish minute warning. So if you guys have anything else you want to discuss, leave it in the chat. And otherwise, remember to hit that subscribe button if you just found us via search or something. Hit that subscribe button. That helps us more than anything. And again, boy, I'm excited to start talking about some of these games, Chris, as we're doing it now, but like we got to actually make our picks. It's going to be chaos. So
was week 3 that may end up being our least interesting week of the season. You think that's going to be fair?
I have no idea. I don't remember what games fell and what. Like at this point, like I'm one of those. Like it's like I see this week, and like once we get to the following week, like I don't remember when the exact weeks on this kind of stuff. So
yeah,
maybe, just given the one-sided nature of a lot of them. So
I mean, the weekend that's always awful is weekend before rivalry weekend, which this should be the 19th. You got Alabama, Austin P. You got Auburn, Western
Smitty.
Kentucky, which that might not be a bad game. You got
Smitty.
LSU, UAB, which won't be awful, maybe. You got Mississippi State, East Tennessee State, Missouri, New Mexico State, A&M, and UMass. Those are the dog games. I've seen worse. This just was not an interesting week. Let's be honest.
You're welcome, Smitty.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
because
sure it was
I
very
think we
enjoyable.
wanted Auburn and Penn State to be more interesting. It just wasn't. Yeah, A&M Miami was interesting. It just wasn't the most exciting game. And then LSU and Mississippi State was, that wasn't one of those going into the final minutes who's going to win. I mean, it was, I guess LSU got that last score pretty late, but that was a little bit of a disappointment.
Appreciate it, Daniel. You're right. Get that like up. Hit that like button too. Not just subscribe. Hit the like button. We appreciate the plug for that, Daniel. We appreciate that.
Yeah,
So
Rusty's bringing up the underrated game of the week, although that's not really the kind we want to see this time of the year.
if they lose Missouri, is he gone right there? I mean, depends on what that game looks like. I think that's going to be
Game's
something.
in Auburn. I just don't think Missouri's very good.
I don't either, but Chris, I don't think Auburn's very good either. Like I still think some people are leaning into this, like making this more about Penn State, but I just think that we've seen what Auburn is to this point through 3 weeks. And I mean, they're going to be a bottom 4 team in our power rankings this week.
At least I will give you the silver. I think that Auburn, if you're looking for something good, maybe a little closer to finding a quarterback. I mean, don't they have to go with Ashford now?
I mean, I suppose, yeah. I think it's
You're not very.
I'm just telling you, I've again, I watched them. Like I don't really know. I've seen what I've seen, and thus far, what is it that stands out about Auburn other than we know they can run the ball, but the problem is, when you have games like that, where I mean, just the way that game played out, I don't know. I can't imagine I'm saying anything that people would be that shocked by when it comes to what they've seen from Auburn, but I'm not just overreacting to one game either. So,
well, look, I've been low man on Auburn all year, so nothing that I've seen has really shocked me. I mean, gosh, they threw 2 interceptions last night too. What if they got 2 touchdowns to 6 picks between their 2 quarterbacks? That's from memory, but I think that's close.
Donovan's ready. Donovan's all in on Hugh Freeze. So,
hey, Donovan, I give you props for being here, my man.
So, yeah,
Freeze. No, that'll be interesting because I think Freeze would really like that job.
this is a really good question. I don't know the answer, Hog Barbecue. I think it's a fascinating thing if Missouri beats Auburn, because then I think things get very interesting. But I just right now, if you had to ask me, I don't think that happens. But yeah. So
Auburn strikes me as the more likely of the schools to change coaches or to fire a coach midseason.
We'll see.
Given all the offseason. I mean, Drinkwitz still is in. Well, I guess he's been there longer than Harsin, 3 years to 2 years, but it's bar for expectations very different.
All right, I've got a crying 4-month-old in here that is ready to go to bed, and he gets to go to bed in this room tonight. So, he doesn't really care about what's going on with the Auburn coaching situation at the very moment. He wants one thing and one thing only, Chris, and that is to eat. And I guess he wants 2 things: to go to bed. So, there you go.
Power rankings coming in the morning, and we will start rolling out picks for next week too, tomorrow morning.
Yes. So subscribe button. It'll all be on there. Yes, we appreciate all the support thus far. It's been we've only 3 weeks into this thing, and yeah, it's just been pretty awesome. We enjoy the live streams, and we appreciate all you guys. And So yeah, we will be back with our videos, prediction videos, previews for all the games. Those will be up Monday, Tuesday. We'll have our weekly Wednesday night live stream. So be sure to check that out. And yeah, a lot more fun stuff on the way, Chris.
Thank you for watching. Thank you to our sponsor, Steaks. Have a great weekend. Be safe. God bless everybody. And we will see you tomorrow morning.